Thanks a lot. Hot.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have two meeting minutes to approve tonight, one from the 20th and the other from our working meeting on capital assets on April 13th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for 4/20?
I move to approve both minutes as presented.
Second.
And a vote? 5-0. Thank you. Okay, as most people are aware, we're going to go to item number 1 on the agenda article for warrant clerk. As most people are aware, the town voted by majority at our last town meeting in June of 2025 to make the clerk, tax collector, registrar position an appointed
good.
starting at the end of the clerk's current term, which is June 13th, 2026. Recently, the select board received a petition with a faulty preamble to revote the clerk back to an elected position as of June 13th, 2026. The select board reached out for legal advice from our town council on this petition, and we're now going to make a motion on this request to appear or not appear on the town warrant. Somebody make a motion to
Make a motion to not accept the petition.
Here, I have the exact word. I move that the select board decline to include the petitioned article on the warrant under the standards set by Maine Superior Court in Vassalboro v. Denko and Friends of Mitchell Field v. Harpswell. The board is not required to facilitate a reboot on a matter that was validly and recently decided by town meeting. The town has already established its legislative intent to move to an appointed clerk system. The board finds it unreasonable to disrupt the implementation of that vote via minority petition.
No, just before we get to the
One second.
Let's second.
Can we say something prior to the vote? though?
Yep.
Yes, but we have to move
Okay,
in second and then discussion.
Second. Go ahead.
I'm gonna vote in favor of this because we've not given the model a shot. We've not tried. The voters approved this and we're ready to move on. It might be a different matter in a year. And we haven't executed the will of the voters, shot that out. So I'm gonna vote in favor of rejecting.
any other comments?
Nope, I think the case law is pretty sound, and I think it's town meetings said they wanted to move in this direction. We've implemented it. Our current clerk has stated they intend to retire. The notion that it's gonna cost money to train a new clerk would happen regardless, whether we elected a new clerk or we appointed him. So I'm gonna reject this as well.
Okay, so we'll have a vote to reject the petition. All hands. So 5-0. So just along the lines of this request, many of you are aware that we already hired a replacement clerk. Her name is Callie McCartney. She's now working with Heather to transition Heather's roles and responsibilities to Callie. This is the responsible way to transition from outgoing clerk to clerk. The select board intends to hire another person in a new town coordinator role as the next step. This person will hold the roles of deputy treasurer, deputy clerk, and administrative assistant. We'll begin interviews to fill the town coordinator role in the next 2 weeks. We have on the order of 20 applicants for that position. Once these positions are filled, we are certain the town will see a vast improvement in your ability to come to the town office on any day the office is scheduled to be open and get your business taken care of. Appointed clerks will report to the select board who will have the authority to make changes to respond to citizen complaints. And that's our statement and comments about this particular petition. Are there any questions from the audience? Next up is the school board. We did have two people.
Advisory board.
Two people, yes, the school advisory board. We did have two people who got their papers in. So we have two individuals, one I believe for a 3-year term and one for a 1-year term. We will have a third opportunity for a write-in candidate. Any questions on the advisory board? Yes. Please come up. It can be up to 5.
Is this a town meeting?
I think
Yes,
Already?
that.
Yeah. starting earlier.
Person on the board can be chosen by the select. But it can't be appointed.
Go watch it and try.
No, so by default,
Yes.
under the consolidation agreement, it's 3. The select board would have to
Your car.
vote to authorize it up to 5. Yes. So it's currently at 3. We're posting on the warrant for 3.
Let me, I would, when we would do that, I mean, if we did that now. And there were other write-ins, they could take those posts. If we did that after the election, would we appoint them?
If we did it after the election, I would, because the terms are gonna be 2 and 3 years respectively, I would move to have special elections in November.
So if we decided to move to 5 now, other write-in candidates could be on.
We're after the filing deadline, so now.
No, but
They could be write-ins.
there could be write-ins.
Right.
No, because it's too close to the election.
No, I don't understand that.
Well, because you have to have your paperwork in by April 21st. That date has passed.
Write-in candidates are not on that.
Right. Write-ins.
Right, but we had to announce the position was going to be open X number of days before the election.
We would have to.
Okay, so we
do
could
that.
have, if we wanted to move it to 5, we could have a special election.
In November. So that way there, we don't have to have an election, we can just
Yeah.
schedule it with the next election in November.
Okay, that makes sense, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this school advisory board? The next item on the agenda is an article that's been asked for, where we would create a school options committee where there would be an allocation of funds to support research, i.e. a consultant or attorney to help answer questions associated with those school options. There are 2 avenues to, as I understand it, to put that article on the warrant. One is that the select board can choose to do that. And the other is that a petition can be created where with the proper number of signatures, it can be forced onto the warrant. The suggested, or so in part, this is emulating an article that Wayne has adopted for their elementary school and research. They have allocated, the last I saw was $25,000 for this committee to do research. It's not to say that this would be this would probably be put onto the warrant as an open-ended article, so it could be raised by individuals attending the meeting or decreased by individuals attending the meeting. I think the first step is to ask the board whether we're willing to support putting an article onto the warrant for a
Yes.
school-related
Oh.
budget
I hope
that
so.
would be used by an options committee that has yet to be formed, but I certainly think there are plenty of capable people in our town to be able to do that. I personally am in favor of doing that, and I'd like to have some discussion about that.
I'm in favor as well.
I'm opposed.
Tell you why, I'm opposed. I think we should let the advisory board work with the school, work with the strategic wide planning team that's been put together by. So school board and put together a strategic planning team to look at these issues. I think that would be the job of the advisory, the 3 or 5 members, to begin working. To be our liaison, to start thinking about some of the
It's not what they're hired for.
fast on a separate thing. So I'm not saying I'm really supportive in the future, but to move forward with that committee at the same time that we're creating the strategic planning, or I'm sorry, the advisory. It seems to me putting the cart a horse in front of the cart. So I would suggest that we slow down, that we elect these members to the advisory. And that we move forward with them working with the school board, with the strategic planning committee, and see how things move along. So I appreciate all the interest and work that the community is doing. It's a great community service that you're doing. And but I'm just not there yet. So I would ask the board members to think that through and maybe let the school board advisory group get together and start working.
I would like to comment if I could, if you're done. So the advisory board has been vacant for how many years?
Yeah,
Okay.
quite a while.
And we do not know how strong or dedicated or what it's going to produce. So because it's new and we've had 2 people take out papers, and I'm not sure who they are because I didn't see the names. I'm not sure how much work is going to get done when you're new to a committee, and we need to act now. So I say this year, what does it hurt to put the task force, put it on the warrant, and let the town decide?
Well, we're forming a committee and asking voters to vote on those
Right.
committee members. So I think it's either way, you're gonna have new committee members and a new committee that's gonna take time to spin up, and we don't need to approve money for that. When we don't know what it's doing, we don't know who's gonna be on it. Again, we're putting the cart before the horse. The school has indicated that they're gonna walk back the kindergarten change at the next meeting. So this whole stir up about kindergarten is moot because they're walking it back. On top of that, the school is doing their own internal strategic planning process to work through these issues. And they've indicated they're gonna have community support. If we get this board walked up, that board will be working with the school board to look at all of these options. you know, we're acting like we're out on our own. There's 4 other towns in this district that are all facing the same challenges about
They
the
aren't.
cost of the district, about the cost
No, they
of
aren't. They're
education,
not
about
facing.
how their
No, they
schools are
aren't.
gonna operate.
No, they aren't.
Let's work collaboratively
They
with
aren't.
our other towns through that strategic planning process and come to what we want to go through as a district. You know, I don't think we need, Mount Vernon needs to stake it out on our own over a decision that's been walked back.
Well, we're not putting any money up. That's what the warrant vote is for. The town's gonna decide. We're not deciding that.
Well, we have to, the uh, town meeting doesn't create the committee, we create the committee.
I would make the argument that while this school board does have a set of resources available to study this, my understanding is that the school board is planning to have a decision within a year's time. And so the question then becomes, at what point, if there is a need for these funds, at what point do we allocate those funds? I mean, I agree right now might be too soon, but by the same token, let's be prepared.
Are any members here on that committee, the advisory committee? Both of you,
Yes. Please come up to the mic. Thank you. That's so the people on Zoom can hear.
Thank you. So Lily and I went, got our papers, got signed. Our understanding of the advisory board is that we are the liaison between the town and the RSU and the element. So those 2 things. We were not under the impression that we're involved in anything in strategic long-term lines. It was to provide resources, perspective on what the element is going on. Yeah, I mean, I understand it. Is the decision bringing a lot of talking to them prepared for. I'm gonna leave it to you now. So I took papers out because I'm a parent of a potential preschool student next year and kindergarten next year, so this really directly impacts me. Whether it's them routine in kindergarten next year with bigger picture of what's gonna happen in the future of our town school. My understanding from the information I have about the position after speaking with Bob is that we are a liaison of bridge between the parents, our town, and RSU. We're communicating crucial information between the 2 parties, and we're advocating on behalf of our town school. That might be the scope of this current concern about school closure, but we have other, interests as parents about, what is important for our school, both structurally and what's happening. So that's my understanding, but without clarification, that's not it.
Well, let me ask a question. You're deeply concerned about the future of the government. That's why you both decided to pick up a.
Well, that, and I think that this has been a really difficult introduction for me to new parent in public school. This isn't what I foresaw. But one silver lining is I've gotten to know a little bit more about school, about stakeholders, about the board, and I'm realizing that there are things that I want to see from my students in school, things that I've been hesitant about even setting my kids to public school. I want to see less gradients, more movement, more outdoor time, things that perhaps we could advocate for as part of this group. So yes, big picture, I want to see a school there, not just for my kids, but for, I think it's the best for our family community. But also personally as a parent, I think there are things I want to see happen at
So, they're moving the district to constitute the strategic plan. Would you be willing to be part of that?
say that again?
The school board has constituted, put together a strategic plan about these sorts of issues.
I think those are 2 separate groups. I think that's what Diane's saying. Wow.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I would agree.
what's up?
The planning group is somebody that, as I understand it, your people are getting invited to participate in that.
There's and there should be representatives from each table involved. But my understanding is that's a different role than the advisory board. The advisory board, had this actually been in place, I think more parents actually, in terms of this topic, more parents would have been informed about what the board was planning. So it's really about communication and advocacy for parents and parents, not, I think the strategic plan and the thing it documents is 15 members, something like that. That's totally.
Well, it's too bad, because if it's just, I mean, if it's just about conveying information about what the board is doing. We've got 3 board members representing the town. You
Do
can
they
simply-
go to PT, do they go to meetings?
Well, okay, so
No.
here's the point, I think you've got an interest in what happened, well, but well, it seems to me you could be on this strategic plan.
I guess what I'm saying is that is an immediate issue that's coming, that's on the table right now. And I do think that there should be both parent representatives and other community stakeholders as part of that group. But I think that the town and school really needs some kind of bridge that clearly, and again, I'm super new to this, so. I spoke with Mr. Brenner, we can go to your to get more information, I'm stumbling through this and learning more, but. It seems like there's a missing piece here.
Oh.
Why
Pulled
perhaps
over
the
to have a
select board
look when I was
wasn't as
walking around.
informed.
Uh,
He's
Parents
sitting in a
weren't
tree
as
at the other
informed.
house.
There was not
waiting for me to go
communication,
inside.
and I think that's the that. So we're monitoring
Take
our
us down
time to participate in each of the meetings and bring that into that. Diane and I were talking about this earlier. We'd love to connect with Wayne's advisory board and understand how they structure their time in their meetings.
Who is it out
Make it
there?
efficient and really understand our scope
That's
and what we want to accomplish. But we do want to clarify right off the bat that we are separate.
A little
from
bit.
this strategic plan.
Yeah.
My understanding.
Sue?
Yep.
So I think, there's a little bit of mission on the local school committee that we now have to candidates so that we can empower. And what we ask for, we ask for is to look at education options. They're not the same. Education options, one option would be to stay within the RSU as we are now. And that's what the strategic planning process I'm looking at is the plan for the next 5 years for the RSU. That group is not going to be looking at other options that we might have, such as following the way-up model, where we run our own school, or joining a different RSU, or becoming an alternative organizational structure. There are a bunch of different things that we could do. And that's what this task force, if you decide to create it, and if you decide you don't want to create it, put a petition on the warrant to ask the town if they want to create it, just like we can do for the funding. So I thought people got beyond, are we going to create a task force? From the last meeting, but that was, I thought you decided you were going to do that, but if you choose not to, we could go around and having to get enough signatures to get both issues on the ballot. And I would urge you to follow and let the town decide. I would say create a task force, you can use that. It's a legitimate thing to be doing. Other towns have done it. I provide that as well. Particularly Harrison. Created an options committee, and I believe their committee has done their work and is running something on the town's on it. So I would urge you to create a task force, give a permission, and think there's a proposed mission statement, or whatever you want to call it, already in circulation. And if you don't want to put funding yourselves on with a particular amount, and open article so that the town can decide how much money is appropriate. I threw out a figure of $25,000, that's what other towns have done. Do you need an attorney? Do you need, an educational consultant, something one person can handle, like what usually happens in these situations, and, I think John, Arthur has come up with some other type of experts that we need, such as building assessment, we need accounting, the other type of experts. This would just be a down payment, I think, information, the type of expertise we would need to do it, and I think it's a totally separate mission from what the local school committee. They're a creature of the RSP, the RSP 38, and so they're not going to be looking at what other options you have, because this whole thing started on RSP 38, so they moved it to grades from Mount Vernon and Lynn, and they started the process. Their planning process, I think, envisions the strategic plan will be done by next March. We don't have a lot of time to figure out what we want to do, save our school, because all points are pointing towards they're going to look to close it.
Kathy?
Kathy Jacobs, you want to go? I would ask that we not form this new committee. In my experience, I've been principal at middle school, I've been educating students at middle school, I've been on the RSU school board for 8 years as the chair. I've been through this process, it's my third time, so I know I have a lot of experience in this. I agree that the process of moving to kindergarten to just refill was not done as it should have been more input. The board listened to that, we felt that the administrative listened to the community, and they decided to keep 25 where they are in all 4 schools. That's important to me, because that they did listen to what the community had to say. My feeling is that the best solutions, and this is a go away. The enrollment is dropping, so we continue to drop. My belief is that the best solutions are instead of creating calamity. I'm feeling like the local school committee, once it's formed, can do that. We don't want people working in silos. I feel like this other committee is going to be off doing their own thing. It's not going to be collaborating with the board and the administration, which I think is so important. And I'm just going to read a little bit from where the RSU consolidation moving into RSU in 2009. And they formed the local committees. The local school committees are created for the benefit of the local elementary schools. So that's right there to me says that's when you can start talking about what is best for our kids in this town. And talk about the things that really talk about. Talk about where our kids can be 5 years from now. There's a lot of things that this local community can do. They maintain communication with the local community and in our state. That's really important to me. How much is this committee going to keep communicating with the RSU administrative team community? I don't know. I don't know anything about what they're going to be doing. And the strategic planning process, which I have right here, one of the biggest things is community engagement. And then community engagement is through focus groups, and being on the strategic plan. And I don't think it's a plan that's going to be done in 1 year. My understanding, I've talked to a lot of people, my understanding is that it's a 5-year plan. We can look at what's best for our kids across the district for the next 5 years. So my opinion, we might ask you not to form, especially when we're talking about that much money. We can't put that much money for our town.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm confused, and maybe you can help. Do you think that this advisory committee, the 3 members, can they start to confront the issue?
Absolutely.
So they can do that.
But it would be better if they were 5 of them, but yes, if they can.
you haven't said anything, but if by chance you were written in and you served on that committee, would you be willing to be part of this planning that
Yes.
RSU was doing?
I would.
So you think it could have,
Absolutely.
and you've been a school administrator long time, member of the board, so.
I just think to go back to that whole collaboration, I think that is so important. You can't just go off on our own and do things that we want to do. This is a district. We have to think what's best for our kids. And that's what I always go back to, okay, what's best for our kids? And I'm impacted to try to bring us on and involved, so she won't read them, I can't read coach. That's the way it is, but I want to know what's gonna happen to her in the next 5 years, and all my other grandkids that are in this district. So my biggest thing here is the collaboration. I don't think we need two committees to be able to do that.
John,
Thank you, Kathy.
Chris, you're next.
Full respect, we've been watching, we've been watching this, I haven't actually, what will be, they are in the lots. The plan, the plan that's come on, has been forced upon. It was not visible. And meeting on Wednesday night, they will meet the they are well involved on the strategic plan. Strategic planning documents says there is a failing, the plan will be done in 1 month. And that plan will be applied in 20. Then when the board votes on it next month, it will go into effect. So it'll be a 5-year swing. 1 year to do it, it'll then be a 5-year plan. Right now, it is really the majority of that board recommends 3 boards, locals, go down about, let's get put on. If it's, we students have a suggestion. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about getting people on through document and then them was maybe the whole collaborative. I think that work we do it if you form this task force committee. Really important committee, get our school board on that committee. Get the townspeople who's investing in this idea to evaluate what's doing that. I'm on that committee, and then target, let it work, let it gather the data, and let them analyze it. Let them do the survey of the town, use the sort of data. And then they'll be ready to come to you with the information by next March, because they'll also be involved in that process. So it'll all work together. And then what they'll have is they'll have these 2 folks staying together and the whole bunch of other folks. They're helping. Right? You don't even know about it. And so I think it would work great. Have that task force working, have the project group working, liaison with strategic planning, and by next March, you'll have a lot of information. You'll have a lot better something for we can have. That's my conclusion. Now, I just about this all press. I did another summary of options. What steps we need to take to work this task force, what resources we needed on the task force. Tyler has been very coming for money. I don't see money. Future plan. All right, I don't have one thought right now. That plan is not this draft on the Carol. It's not for the public. I haven't had a chance to let it pop up. That does, so outline board and process. The task force development, a process, and then the needs of the task force. The resource. And I apologize, I'm not sure.
That's okay. I'll share. That's okay, I can share.
Could I say something, Sean?
Thank you, John.
Now, to be honest, sort of echoed something that Sue said, but I'm not, it's setting me back. Sue said that $25,000 was down. And as I look at this, it is process and it's a lot of research. And I think what seems to be happening, that you're setting up this committee to make it a more dramatic move than this time. That the goal of the committee in the end is to make a bigger change. Like three options were laid out earlier. What and I understand, and keep in mind, like you should know this, I come absolutely first and foremost, education, but kids are getting, they're bringing new families into the town, ran on that. But I feel like it's moving a bit too fast. Right, this down payment, this plan, what would you say to them? Is this, John, is this really about creating a committee to move the wheels of a big change in the motion?
The committee is. That is the committee. It would be a long term, five. They're one that wants to be very, very quick. And they're making it. You got order, or just out now said, why don't we just close these schools? Close up one anyway, let's close them. Boom. So they're the ones that are pushing this really hard. And so what I'm saying, you know, that they want, well, I don't know if you documents, but they have their options. Their options. So 2 out of 3 are closing the street. And when I did the first position, what happened to this? I go, oh, the you're not really bored, right? Probably close to school. All I said, all sense. You save a lot of money and then you a lot of other things. So they're pushing. All I'm saying is, no, we're not going to. This committee is going to be pushing for the end. It's going to be laying out all the opportunities and all the financial pluses and minuses, and community pluses and minuses, and so that next month, and then we'll integrate the plan. You will have the information that you will need to make decisions on your going to find out. Stay in, get some new structure. You will have the information here. And the only reason I say that it will go quickly is you use Claude, right? Claude is phenomenal. You get the young person in there with Claude, you get the advisory committee here. They have the ability in their position to get all financial information from the school. They have all that ability. They're on the fence. You know, and once you get that financial information, put it in the plot properly, it'll be out in 1 day, you'll know what on first study doing. So that part goes quick. Community involvement, community assessment and all that takes more time. You need a passport. Yeah. I don't see any problem. But if you keep it open, you see the sooner that dimension, that's clearly the need for certain conditions to help out. Whatever. Well, they can bring up. And so if you have up to adult, and again, most of the schools that have been very close to elementary school and working there as you school, it has approximately 2 years to think about it all. It's done it time with this thing.
Yeah, I know, it's so complicated, John, like, there's a whole bunch of research about super small class sizes. I mean, but it's not an educational benefit to have classes less than 8. There's a lot of research, the problem with research on mixed classes, it's very complicated beyond the one.
Well, it's important. That's why I told, I said, you need, it's the first part, it's all that other stuff that has to be graded out.
Yeah.
And then task force can help do that. and do that for us.
Okay, we need to go to the next person. It's okay.
Thank you, John.
What is he? School board.
I was asked, you know, immediately on the board for this, you can recommend understanding that. Children to be absolutely first. In the last 9 months that I'm from the meeting, various perspective on the options for our school, most of them have been subjective. With a lot of people's personal perspective. And what I would hope that one is spent on this vision that they provide us with a framework to be very complicated financial and legal aspects of school. That would provide the town with the ability to know what those are. I think class sizes and the teachers and the just and all are things that the school board and the advisory committee to focus on. I'm kind of new to this, but that's what I was seeing, if I understood correctly, is what these ladies would like, affect how the schools are run. How the children are taught, how the classes are taught, all the last. It's not part of what, I understand that.
Yeah.
And that this bigger financial, legal aspects of it, I think with the Jared I don't believe that you will be it. Yeah, I think years about these things, purely legal and financial perspective. What are those options? What are those frameworks? Can be different things that think you go. Legally and financially that are off. And then how, why are you doing it? That's a whole separate thing. And I think the town has to be people and just leave committee to be able to.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, I'll be brief, but what I will say is I'm all for collaboration. I'm all for being a part of a community. Anyway, community projects. I like all right. I want to, consider either support or more actively well. So I'm in support of all of that. I couldn't agree more. We need to collaborate, we need to communicate. I do not, but I also agree with John. They showed that RSU kind of showed their hand around moving the kindergartens. You can't walk that back. That's an immutable fact. But that was the decision. I believe strongly that was a wrong decision. And perhaps on Wednesday, with the recommendation from the A team, the school board will vote to walk that back for a year. But that doesn't mean it's not going to come back. The intention, I think, was clear. And I don't think this town wants to be caught flat-footed. And it's not a lot of time, a year, it's not a lot of time to gather the data, to put some figures together, to give you guys the information you need, that should that decision be revisited, move the kindergartners, close the school, whatever the decision is, you're going to be faced with acceptance or have another option. And that's what this committee's for. I don't think there's a downside, because my hope is that the RSU, with collaboration and input from parents and school advisory committees, are going to rethink this. And then we can all rest easier a year from now when there's not a threat to close the school.
There's 10 incoming kindergartners this year in Mount Vernon. That's not a small class. Yeah. You know, everyone uses, declining enrollment, declining class size. Well, it didn't really come to pass this year. And if people hadn't rallied, they'd have moved those kindergartners to Reedfield. They'd be gone. And so I think you want to be prepared. That's all. I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion. I'm not saying it's going to be some radical big move, but I think you want to know what your options are.
Kathy? Well done.
Jacobs, North Road. Tyler, how much does the school budget, the RSU?
24, 25 next year, I believe.
No,
24 this year, 25 next year.
yeah, we spent all this money on education. We have the experts down there that are highly educated people. And trying to give the kids the best education they can. And I think they do a good job. I think we have a school board. We have an advisory committee now. I don't see a need for a third committee that's gonna, lack of a better word, muddy the waters, so to speak. If two committees can't solve what's going on with the Mount Vernon school, a third committee, but how is a third committee gonna solve? I mean, let the two committees work together with the school, give the new superintendent a chance to come up with some ideas of how she's gonna run the system there. I think this third committee has been very rushed. We talk about rushing the school's decision on the financial plan for the school system, but the third committee is rushed. I don't think there's really been a lot of thought put into what they want to accomplish other than keep the school open. And that I don't want to say anymore. It's just that let's keep it the way it is.
Sure.
So if you do decide on this committee, I will support that. My question is, how would the people be put on that committee? Would it just be whoever wants to be on it? How would you determine who would be on that committee? And I do want to say one other thing as far as all the consultant fees that we're going to be looking at if this group does it. The school board has done a total assessment of all of the buildings, so they know everything that's going on in every building, all the repairs and all the financials that need to be done. They wouldn't need a consultant. The school board is getting a consultant for the strategic planning process, somebody that's going to be neutral and will be able to lead that process. The school has lawyers. So when I think of all the things that John mentioned that we need, we already have those. So my big question though is how would this committee be formed?
Right here, Kathy.
Okay, any other comments? Noah, do you want to weigh in on this in any way? Noah's on the school board.
Paul, as you know, we're prepared. I don't know much about this third committee. I'm glad to see that we have two people who pulled papers and are running for the advisory committee. It's good to have people engaged, and I hope we have a third person written in. In regards to this third committee, I can't really speak to it. I don't know much about it other than what I've heard tonight. And to me, it's more of a whether in my opinion, again, looking at this from a school board perspective, talk about us saying that we're going down the path closing the school, will this put out a perception that you guys are pulling out of the district. Now, if this board thinks that it is necessary to spend this much money on establishing a future of specifically our school in Mount Vernon. I think that the advisory committee has a lot to do with that. Because their job as that elected position is what is in the best interest of Mount Vernon Elementary. That's it.
I've got a question. We've got this back to early. Do you have a sense, your board member, do you have a sense that the advisory board from our town would play a meaningful role in the strategic planning?
I think that it's all community members, not that the advisory committee gets a spot on the plan committee. I think that, again, the biggest thing what Kathy said is community engagement in that whole process.
Can they look for help from the school board too?
Who?
The advisory?
Yeah, so basically, as they also stated, they're your liaison, they're your eye as to what is best for this elementary school. And like I told Carl, as an RSU, I'm not sure the rest of you haven't seen that, as RSU 38 board of director, my one job is the focus of the best interest of all the students, not specifically targeting one elementary school.
Feels odd to me that we can't establish the definition of a role that I've chosen to be on the ballot for. The document I was given had really clear bullet points, and it wasn't an involvement to do with the strategic planning. I think that is a huge role for, I'm hearing 3 people. I thought it was 5 people as well, so I'm a little confused about that. Okay, that is a huge undertaking for 3 people. To do. There are the long-term planning of the school, the existence of the school, the structure of the school. There's also the investment parents, students, and teachers have and what the school is currently doing. And so I think it's a conflict almost, maybe not a conflict, but just way too big of a scope of a role for the advisory board. I think that should be 2 separate pieces. I also have been at one of these other meetings where other folks have brought up just the nuances of looking at alternative educational options, the legal implications, the financial implications. And my understanding is that we would not be participating in that. That is expert information and exploration that I don't know that we have the capacity to accomplish. I would really want this role to be, again, about advocacy and about communication. The reason I got involved was, yes, because of this immediate, what feels like a crisis, but it was the noticing of the gap in communication between the RSU and the community and parents. That's why, as a parent, I'm getting involved to fill that gap, not to solve the problem or identify the alternative educational options. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well,
But
you made it quite muddy. Only because Kathy, who's looked at this, tells me that you really could be, and you're telling me you couldn't be. It makes it hard for me, but I understand what you're saying. That's not what you're signing up for.
So I guess what I'd ask Mr. Shea is, why don't we decide on what this role should be? I'm just, again, new to this process, want to be involved, want to advocate for other parents. As a parent, I'm happy to be involved, but I do not have the capacity to play so many roles in a really big process that's going to be taking place.
You'll have help.
Excuse me?
You'll get help.
Can I interject this? So, as a former school board member, I guess this is kind of what I'll lay out. The advisory committee is tasked with looking at what is in the best interest of the elementary school, full stop. So you'll be, yes, liaising between the town and the district and making sure communication goes in both ways, but you have a real ability to recommend a separate budget to the taxpayers of Mount Vernon and advocate that we spend up above and beyond what the district is recommending. So I think when we discuss school closure and moving kindergarten, not moving kindergarten, moving pre-K, not moving pre-K, that's where your role really steps in to say, okay, the board has said to do this, this is what it costs to fund kindergarten next year. We want the town of Mount Vernon to pay for that separately. And I think that solves the larger issue that we're trying to discuss here is if the town wants to keep the district or keep the school open, we have that mechanism within our existing RSU 38 agreement. We can pay that additional fee above and beyond if we want. But I think that the committee that's being proposed, and from all the intentions I've heard, is they want to pull the district, the town out of the district. Well, you know, we
We can't have the need of the schools with ours too. The school advisory committee is not gonna rest that feedback. If we want to keep kindergarten, the school decides to close, the RSU decides to close the school, they own the school.
and if we withdraw, it's not like they're going to sell it back to us.
There is, never read the document clearly, because there is a mechanism for this. We need to, I hope that never comes to pass. I hope to God that never comes to pass, but we better be prepared. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Okay, we do need to close this discussion, but I think we need to make some decisions about what we're going to do. And I'll just interject one more thing from a more corporate strategic perspective. I see there being multiple layers going on here. One is the school infrastructure and apparatus, but in a corporate environment where you're doing something very seriously, you also have planners who are looking at what are the options so that you know what to fall back on. And that's what I think Sue and John are, and others are thinking about when we talk about an options group. It's not to say that's the direction we're going to go. It's just to say, here is the information. Should we get to that point? Sue?
I think you said it really well, Carl. I'm not going to add to that, but I just want to hit on a couple of points. Number one, the missions of these two bodies, the local school committee and I'm going to call it the task force, are completely different. To avoid silos, Kathy mentioned we shouldn't be siloing it and having all these different committees. You could have overlap. You could have someone from the local committee on the task force. And that way there would be communication there. The third thing I want to say about collaboration, I would much prefer to do this in a collaborative way. I would much prefer to stay the way we are, the way we've been, and continue to keep our local school. And that was the premise upon which we entered into this RSU, that there would be an elementary school in each town. That was part of the material, that was part of the handouts that was given to people before we voted. That was the agreement. And so that's a pretty fundamental principle to me. And I would want to, get that into the strategic planning process in a collaborative way and have those discussions to see if there are ways that we can make the school more viable, increase the enrollment. Maybe we have full day pre-K. Maybe we try to make this school attractive to people who want to send their kids here from other towns. This is going on all over the state. There's some very creative things that can be done. And that's part of the strategic plan. But I think we do need to be prepared for next March, when this 5-year plan is, voted on and finalized. We could be getting the same thing that we got, a month ago? That, our school was not going to be continued. And we need to know what our options are. And that's what this task force would be designed to do. And respectfully, I don't think that is part of what our plan says this local committee's mission is. So that's why I think you should create it and put an article on the warrant with an open funding.
Okay, the way I would vote would be if we're going to put money on the table would be for the advisory committee. They would have the strings attached to the money. And any subcommittee would be you guys. That way, the advisory committee would be getting all your information and they would have that information. That way we don't have all this stuff going around. They need to have this information too. And they would have the purse strings.
Well, yes, so talk about it. Well, I like that. I love that idea about would it be possible if we went to 5 members on the advisory board? That members of your other group would run for those other posts so that they could serve on the advisory board?
Yeah, actually, say, there is enough, if that whole thing, that's the problem.
I agree.
I do.
It is a different mission, but they
It's the
should have
same
purse
thing I've been saying. It's totally different missions, in my opinion, between
I know.
the local school committee and the task force. And the local school committee is a creature of RSU 38. It's part of the RSU 38. The options committee is going to be looking at, okay, is there a life outside of RSU 38 that we should be looking at in case the strategic plan comes up with something that means that we're not going to have our elementary school as part of RSU 38. Now, one other thing I want to say about the finances is that there is and people are talking about it's not a viable school because it's too expensive. We can't afford it. The building's aging. We have low enrollment, et cetera, et cetera. As far as the money piece goes, there is a provision in the plan that was specifically crafted and discussed by the Reorganization Planning Committee, which is called the RPC, another acronym, that says that if the RSU votes to close and the town votes to keep the school open, the financial penalty that the state law says the town has to pay into the RSU is offset by an adjustment in the cost sharing. And that's right in the plan. The plan was submitted. It was reviewed with council that was advising our committee, and it was approved by DOE. So this whole thing about saving money, I think when people get into it, they're going to find that that's not really what the plan says.
Okay, so it seems that the question is, we hope to form an options committee. And I think we do need to talk more about the composition of that committee. I think we need to talk about the mission of that committee. So maybe it isn't quite right for us to form that committee, but I do see that being one part of the decision-making process, and the other part being whether there's any funding associated with this.
So with regard to funding, I'm actually starting to, I would say that I think it's a big issue in my let the towns. In other words, I'm actually coming with that. I'm supporting the move towards the board at the meeting. I don't know where I'm going to be on that. This is a tough question. I don't know where I'm going to be at that meeting. I may speak out pretty hard against it, but it's such a big issue. Maybe let the town decide. That's kind of where I'm at.
And that's what I said in the beginning.
I've come back.
I think the
But
whole
the
thing.
only
should
thing,
be
let me ask, how can we let the town decide on the money? Do we have to sign on the board? Can we let the town decide on this this task force as well.
I think we can have the whole thing
You-
petition.
Arrange.
So
Sometime back in the 90s, I think I sent this to the chair, to Carl. There was we were struggling with whether or not we should look into going to a town manager form of government. And there was a warrant article put on by the select board to create a committee to investigate that issue. And it was presented at town meeting. It passed. A committee was created and we didn't go to the town manager form of government. Hence,
Send it out.
25 years later. So you could do that if you don't want to create the task force. I would urge you to create the task force because I think it is a very important issue. But I think I've already, said all that. But you could do that. You could have two separate articles, one to create the task force and one to fund it. I think it would be hard for the task force to make a lot of progress without the ability to consult with experts. And I would just point you to Harrison. They created a committee, their select board created a committee. I think they created it on their own. And they did get funding, I presume by a warrant article. And it was $20,000, and then they were gonna have to allocate some more going forward, and I think that would be a fun meeting this June.
It's one of the quick suggestions you could, do what Susan suggested, but for whatever the funding for article would be, you could recommend zero. You can recommend zero, and then a citizen recommendation can be 25,000, or we can amend it on the floor to 25,000, and let the town decide. I agree with you, let the town decide. This is important. This is very important. To be preempted without even getting input from the town, I think would be a shame. So, I mean, that's if you're really not. Anyway, that's.
Yeah. Call the question.
I don't have a motion on the floor.
Oh,
No.
okay, so the next step would be for us or for someone to bring a suggested warrant or two warrants to us.
Could we do it now?
I mean, I think I think we have a broad sense of what the numbers are. It's 0 or 25. I think that's been the broad suggestion. If we're going to fund it at 25,000 with possibly up to between 29 and 50,000. So I think we put there's whatever we want to recommend as select board and the other recommendation.
I would like to see a sequential vote at the town meeting, the constitution of the committee, the task force, and then the fund. Because if the task force is not approved, it's not. It's just a big question, and I'm tossed up on.
Yeah.
I kind of maybe let the town decide, what's direction on it. It's a tough hit, I get that. So that's why I'm gonna end up, I wouldn't vote to, support them right now, but I would vote to support it for the part. And those people against it are just gonna have to rally their forces. Because they'll rally their forces in support paper. That's the way town works. So we can make a motion to put a warrant on. Or should we do that?
Yep, no, we can do that right now.
I can make that.
I move that we add 2 warrants to the annual town meeting. The first warrant being to establish a town school options committee, or task force rather. The second being to establish funding for said committee.
Second.
Yeah.
And a vote. So 4-0. 4-1, sorry.
You couldn't hear the whole motion.
So motion 1 is to establish the committee. Motion or a warrant for the committee. The second one is for the funding. So you have 2 warrant articles. One establishes it, one fund.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. We had our final budget presentation on Saturday. Do we need to?
We do this with one lump sum. Great big.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we had our final budget presentation Saturday, and Tyler, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yep, so I have shared the presentation last weekend on Saturday. I have a draft budget report that I've circulated to everybody. I got positive feedback from Peggy. Anybody else looked at it?
Good.
It's just a
It was really
a
great.
retype off of the presentation on Saturday.
You did a good job.
So that'll go up tonight, along with the final spreadsheet.
So are you not making?
I have also sent out drafts of the
The
warrants,
dogs?
may need to tweak it a little bit, but the budget side of the warrants.
Oh, and you put back the other shelf. Thank you.
Already close to, I think we're just waiting on ordinance review. Correct?
Second. Yep.
Right.
Yes.
So we should have the warrants ready within the next, with the one more public hearing and then.
So,
And then we'll have those warrants ready to go. The total operational budget of the town. I'm gonna make sure I have the exact number here, 10. Yeah, have it open. That's the right. So the total recommended amounts are town administration, 522,000, fire and rescue, 399,000. Transfer station, 245,000, other health and safety, 198,000. Community services, 77,000, roads and maintenance, 1,156,000. Other options, which is charitable giving, 17,000. And then a drawdown of the undesignated fund balance of 165,000 for a total town operational budget of 261,000, or sorry, $2,617,000, which is a 2.063% increase over last fiscal year, or a total of $52,000 over the previous fiscal year. When you factor in the county increase and the school increase, the total general fund next year is projected to be at $7,080,000, or roughly 6.45% over the previous year, with a projected tax levy of 6,157,000, or 4.3% increase over the previous year. So with that, I would move to adopt the select board recommended budget as presented, with a total town budget of $2,617,000.
Second.
and a vote. 5-0.
That budget is on the website, and I will have the other documents up when I post the video tonight. Yep.
That means that the tax increase for our residents 4.03%.
If all holds, yes, it'd be 4.031%. And I would add that 88% of that increase is driven by RSU 38 and the county.
You want something to drink?
I'm drinking.
Okay, thank you. Next up, any other questions on that? Next up is that we were requested by the Emily, who is doing the recycling of actually funded, or those recyclable materials that have a deposit on them. So bottles and cans that have a recycling fund available to them. That person asked if we would fund a recycling lean-to at the transfer station. Bob, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Right now, people drop off bottles and cans over by George's shack. And she would like to have a little bit better spot. And she would like to have a lean-to over so that the product doesn't get all splashed on and snowed on and stuff like that. The bottles she receives go to the church, Baptist church, and the funds are used for, I know I've requested a couple of times for firewood for people. And she also uses it for the food bank. So all these bottles that she picks up, gross stuff, she sorts them out and brings them down to someplace down towards Green, I think. And she gets the money for them and donates them to the church, and then they get brought back to the town somehow. So she would like to have the town put up a little lean-to to the tune of about 3,500, I think it was. And a contractor would put the thing up for her.
I don't know
I'm
that
not
we
writing a
have.
check.
No.
I mean. what's the
We,
idea?
we're bringing up the topic.
We
Yep.
can get raise or bucket, I mean.
Yeah, we're just
I mean,
bringing it up, that's all.
so, I mean, yes, there's transfer station capital funds, but I think there's a myriad of other capital projects down there that are ahead of this. And I know we have a drainage problem. There's been some identifying concrete issues on those retaining walls around the bins that are gonna have to be addressed.
Yep. Yes. Yep.
So, and we've talked about if the compactor changes out, eventually paving the driveway so it's not a muddy mess during the spring and fall and during if we get a mid-winter thaw. So for what it is, I think it just needs to be collected more frequently. I think that's kind of the best solution short term. I think, yeah, long term. With the transfer station, I think that it's something to look at, but I think there's some other pressing capital projects ahead of it.
I just mentioned, she just asked and I just brought it up.
We have like a little more than 10 minutes at Jeopardy, so let's watch this.
Okay.
That should be something we should take a look at. That's kind of extreme.
Okay. Yep. Which leads us to the next topic, which is, does it make sense for the town of Mount Vernon to reach out to Reedfield about using Reedfield's transfer station instead of continuing operations at ours? Again, this is an early discussion. I mean, it would be to find out whether it's viable, what it might cost, whether
Who's
it might save
speaking?
us money,
Oh, that's Carl.
things like that.
I mean, I'm personally in favor of reaching out and just seeing what it costs, because we're spending to operate ours with currently 8 hours. Our projected is 13 hours a week plus a little extra on Wednesdays for about 10 weeks. Is $245,000. If you look at the operational hours over the Reed Field, it's nearly, almost triple what we're offering at ours just to service Mount Vernon. So if we could get in there for 20% less than we're paying now for 3 times the hours, and for some residents, yes, it'd be a little bit longer drive. For other residents, it'd be a little bit shorter drive. I think it's worth inquiring about.
So just to be straightforward about this, I did reach out to Eric Dyer in Reedfield, and he said that it would take about a year to incorporate our request. And if we want to go forward with this, he asks that we send an email expressing interest to move forward with that. So again, we have a reasonable timeline that we might understand it will take to get that operation going if we chose to go that way. But does it make sense for us to reach out? Shall I reach out and express interest and gets through some initial conversations and understandings about what it might cost?
I move to send a letter of inquiry to the town of Reedfield about shared transfer station services.
Yep,
Yeah,
I would. No, I would do it.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
I'd like to see what the expense is versus what we pay now.
yeah. In the conversation that I had with Eric, apparently Reedfield is investigating an alternate ambulance service to Reedfield and mutual aid communities around Reedfield. And I suggested that we might also be interested in exploring that with them. And I again ask for your feedback as to whether or not that makes sense to do, and don't see why it wouldn't. Because we're not getting the service that I think we need from.
Amanda, you're shaking your head. Well, I think it's, what we're looking at is the 70% increase in cost next year.
It doesn't hurt to ask, but you're going to hurt the town people with the.
Did you understand what that person is saying?
The time it takes to get another ambulance.
Or it might be faster. I don't know that yet.
Currently, I spoke with, Reedfield Fire for this meeting, and, so.
I'm gonna take one of these and I'm gonna regret it because then I'm gonna want to eat a million of them.
North Star, which was one of their choices that they were looking at pretty heavily, is telling them that they're not capable of doing that, handling our region at this time. Now, not to say that they won't down the road be able to do it, but currently our options are limited, and we run the risk of delay of patient care. So that's where Amanda's pushing that is it's not necessarily about the money as much as it is about response time to get to the patient. Currently, we have some lapses in response time, but it's not mitigated with North Star's response current. And North Star is saying they can handle Vienna like they've been doing, but to pick up the other 4 towns at this time, according to the Reedfield chief, they're not getting any movement on that from North Star.
I heard the last 3 calls I've had in Diana, they said he has to go to Farmington because we do not have any more trucks in town. That's the only way we can go. So they don't even give the patient a chance to go to Augusta. They need to bring the truck back. So North Star got a question on trying to handle. Yes, you might have a delayed response from winter, but you have to also think of the interactions with our team versus their team, the handoff, trust somebody what you're doing and what they're doing. You bring in somebody out of town, it could be Delta, it could be Augusta Fire, you're going to have a delay there. And if your loved one is having a stroke, you have a time window to get them into the path lab to get them what they need. And if you're gonna delay it at least a half hour on a good day, you might not have a chance.
This isn't about whether or not to make a decision. It's about whether or not to have a discussion.
Right.
But we don't want to waste time. Are you both saying it's not worth
You
the
can have a
discussion?
discussion all you want, but
At this point in time,
I don't want to waste time.
Right.
yeah, at this point in time, I would say it's not beneficial to the town.
It's not amenable with the.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I would say, if we're having discussions, it would be more about the level of service that we're paying for that we don't receive out of Winthrop, which would be waiting for a 4th ambulance or having one of my fire or rescue members drive the ambulance because they come with only one person on it.
those are concerns I have as a fire chief.
Or rescue sign to take them up, and if it doesn't even come on feet, but I hear that we are paying their service of coming out, and if they're not coming out, we're still getting paid for it. But if we're taking care of a patient within the home by rescue, then we should need to look at that as well, we're still paying for their services.
We are working on trying to get, this is Reedfield and us, we're trying to get one of the 4 trucks located in Reedfield. This is not going to happen right off, but within a year, we're trying to get one of those trucks because their 4th truck, Winthrop's 4th truck is not reliable. Once that's, when a new truck is issued, then we might be able to get a truck in Reedfield. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, what I heard from that is that we should limit our discussion with Reedfield about ambulance or ambulance service. But do have conversations with about improving. Just okay.
I have another question related. Are we able to break out how much the town pays for ambulance service for people that don't have insurance? Because my understanding is the town pays that amount.
We're not collecting insurance for patients, not the location.
No,
We go, we don't.
you don't have to.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bill yet.
I'd like to break that out. That's an issue we should look at.
That would be something the Winthrop should be able to give us.
Yeah.
I'll ask on Wednesday.
Okay.
I mean, I know we're gonna be due for them this year under the new contract that we signed last year. So
We've already paid the second half of our dues.
Yeah, but that doesn't include this.
No, I'm saying the dues for the ambulance though itself, we have paid both
That
halves.
sounds like Remy
For this
That's
fiscal
not
year
my
already.
sitting over there.
I'll ask on Wednesday.
Okay. Next up is a brief update on the Comprehensive Planning Committee. Tyler, if you're willing to do that. I mean, basically, it's that we're going to create the Comprehensive Planning Committee wants to create focus groups, and those will start, I believe, in mid-June or is
yeah.
it-
So the committee met, we used a couple of AI tools to analyze the survey data. There are some conclusions that can be drawn on that.
Do you want to hear what
but
my
that
feat of
and
strength today, or you
focus
want to
groups,
watch that?
The kind
I
of.
hear what?
My feat
There are
of strength
some
today.
trends in the data, and we'd like to
Yeah,
get
what?
more into why those
I
trends.
was in the
exist,
post office.
like,
William, you're
compared to
not on
And Bernie
mute.
was there,
There's-
and
see,
she had a
it's
big
still a minority of
package,
town, but
big
there's
box,
this larger
and she was
portion of town that
kicking
likes
it
to do
across the
commercial growth.
floor.
Versus
And I said, "What are you
2019,
doing?"
what does that mean to people?
So
Is that
she said, well,
more small and home-based businesses, is
we've
that
gotten this
you
big
know,
box. And
businesses
Amazon
in the village
insisted
and
on
other
sending it
areas,
to
is
the
that a
post
change
office,
Tyler, can
sent
you-
it to her
zoning
front
requirements,
door.
things along
Tyler,
that
So she was going to
nature.
kick it to her
Um,
car. She couldn't
you
lift
guys-
And
it.
then there's a lot of discussion around housing.
I said, well,
and kind
let
of
me
what do we
try.
want to do with housing,
William Rosenberg, you're not on mute.
particularly where it comes to density of housing and lot sizes, what you can and cannot do around that. And then there's some other questions about farming versus forestry. There was, and versus 2019, this plan showed that people want more farming, but not necessarily forestry. And that was not the case in 2019. So a couple of those things that we want to flush out in focus groups, and then hopefully have a draft report for the next town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the just a brief update on the town operations coordinator. I'm proposing that we close applications on May 8th, which is Friday at 5. The town office is not closed then, so maybe we need to move that back to May 7th at 3. I mean, we could keep it at on the 8th at 5 if we just accept any mail that comes in that day and
I mean, when are we planning interviews?
Within the next 2 weeks, I believe Peggy, we've gotten like 20
20.
applicants.
20 applications.
There are 4 more.
There are 4 more? Okay,
So if we
24.
close on the 8th. And that gives us, and then we put packets together for the 12th. I mean, that gives us the weekend to kind of collect those last stragglers that come in via whether it be email or mail or dropped off, and then collate them Monday and Tuesday and review by the end of the 15th, and then submit, I think the same thing we did with the clerk, submit our top 5, and we'll meet, select our top 5 and schedule interviews.
Okay, sounds good. My primary goal is to put an end date for application acceptance.
Thanks.
All right, any questions on that?
Did you decide on May 8th at 5?
May 8th at 5.
Okay. I just have to close it online. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Next up is the bridge update, and good news here. One, they put the first of the steel girders in today, and they're expecting a completion date of June 1st. So finally making what feels like good progress.
The beam.
Go walk the beam, yeah. Next up, Communications Committee, we're meeting this week.
We are meeting Wednesday. The big 3 is going to be looking at social media and kind of reviewing it because it's up for renewal in July. And then also looking at newsletter, our newsletter policy that hasn't been updated since the 90s. And then I have a draft website policy to look at both our website and a website policy and kind of see what we want to do from there. And then I think, depending on that, we'll start arranging probably either bi-monthly or monthly meetings. From here on out.
Again, Wednesday meeting.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
at the town office.
There are 2 people on the Communications Committee. I'd propose we take the Communications Committee request off the front page of the website, because I don't think we're going to get any more.
Yep.
Are there any other revisions to committee policies that we're doing?
That one's good to go. We voted on that. There's a couple of draft policies that we need to work on that I've sent out, or I'd like to work on. We don't need them, we don't have to work on them. I've sent out a series of draft policies to work on, just some areas that we don't have policies now that we probably should. AI, town website,
Transfer station.
I think I turned it to Brent. It was about where you can and cannot campaign. I turned that into a town-wide policy that we'll get into. There's some of that, and then at some point, like I said, I'd like to work on just reformatting and restructuring policies on the writ large, make it a little bit easier to edit and present and have training on.
Okay.
Yes, I have a draft, but
Maybe you might find some people to go.
yeah.
Okay, next up then is the printing of annual reports. Last year, we printed 100 reports, and that was definitely not enough. This year, we're thinking of doing 250, and if there's more demand for it, we'll do another 250. There has been a suggestion that we send annual reports to everyone in town. There's a cost to that. Okay. And we'll take that under consideration.
I'm gonna make my point clear. I'm still a yes on mailing one out. Was historically done. Yes, a percentage of them are gonna get tossed, but they need to be sent out to people. Like, they have a right to see the warrant, they have a right to see the audit, they have a right. And some people don't have technology, they shouldn't have to reach out to have one printed, or they shouldn't have to go to town meeting to get one, just get one. And it's not one for every resident, it's one per household.
We have a cost on that. We ever bring that down?
I thought it was
$10 a
$10 a person or a month.
Give me a second.
About
right?
800.
We can,
Close
with
to
the magic
800.
of AI, we can. With the magic of AI, we can get a rough estimate.
It's gonna be around 9,000.
$9,000.
That's too much. Really big it for it.
We have to have them everywhere, lots of places, online. Anybody that calls into the,
I mean-
that's at the line 110 and so forth, but
What-
widely distributed.
I mean, do we
But
have
not
a
9,000.
rough idea on how many households are in town, not residents, which we know is about 1,700? How many residents?
I think it's 800 or
Or how
It's
many?
usually about 60% of residents, at least across the nation. 60% of residents, so if there's 1,800 residents, I guess it's probably 900 households.
I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately.
I think we need to get a firm estimate from the post office and
I don't
make a
think
decision from there.
unreasonable to do it if they call in and then you send it out though.
Yeah.
Instead
no
of
longer have
spending
a stamp.
$10,000 or $6,000 or whatever.
Yep, don't have one.
So we need to find out what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, let's hold off.
Okay. We already talked about the policy for the transfer station.
We haven't discussed it.
I don't know.
I've sent a draft out.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to read it, so.
Oh, okay. And I can kind of go over the generals of it, as a technically a first read, so. Couple general regulations, you can't be petitioning or campaigning. At any point of egress on a building, so you can't stand out the front door. You need to be away from that, you can't impede, traffic or safety. Of a space, you can't harass your neighbors, and you can't use bullhorns or anything that would be disruptive to business. There's some facility specific rules. Any non-public forum, so inside the town office, is strictly prohibited. Inside the fire station, up at the sand salt shed, inside the community center, if there's not like a public event, if it's a private event, you can't be doing anything. Up at the transfer station, I kind of propose having a designated area for it, so. Because it is a place where people come and go, and we want to support that, but having a designated area at the transfer station. Set by the manager or by us, and then everywhere else, so at the compactors, at the swap shop. By the brush piles, all of that would be strictly prohibited. Polling places, that's all dictated by state law, but we reference that here. Signage on town-owned property, if it's in the right of way, the state right of way, it's allowed, but if it's on town property, it's not. And then there's some enforcement ability there. But it's kind of boilerplate, and it just make sure we're all above board.
I would like to plan to do that next week or next meeting, because I would like to have a chance to thoroughly read it.
I've sent out 2 copies of it. One was generated by Claude, one was generated by Gemini, and we can kind of hash the 2 out.
Well,
All right.
My wife called Claude Evans.
We, I have 2 other items on the, that I'm adding to the agenda. Apologies for this, but porta potties were supposed to go out on May 1st. I don't know if they're out. They come in on October 1st.
What was that?
Porta potties at like the rec field
Yes,
and the beach.
I called them today.
Okay,
I think one of them got placed. I
In
know
the
we got a
wrong
report that
spot.
One of them got placed up at school, up against a window, and
In the wrong spot.
in the
Yep.
wrong spot.
that was a week ago or so.
Yeah,
Huh.
that one got moved, right?
It is gone.
It's gone. Okay.
Okay, the next item up for discussion is a road discussion, specifically about Locks Corner, and Bob, I'm gonna punt that to you.
Okay, Charlie. We had a grant. Actually, 2 grants. We have a stream grant for 200,000 from DOT. And we were in the process of getting a FEMA grant. And how much on that one? 386. Okay. So back in 2024, the town raised through the undesignated funds 100,000 for the Locks Corner. So Locks Corner, the problem with that corner is during flood seasons, that road floods over and washes that corner out. And if you look at the opposite side, the lake side of that road, you can walk through pretty much, well, probably 100 feet or more. And basically it has all the road filled. You can walk that whole thing. So every time there's a heavy rain, we take the dirt from the road and we put it into the stream. So we have an engineer that did a design, and it's a box culvert. In order to be able to get the proper flow through that through the road. So the total project is 485,000. So we have 100,000 plus we have the 200,000 from the stream grant. And we need.
You spent 25.
Right.
So balance the fundraise, 186 down.
Okay. So that 100 what? 180?
That right here. 86 down the raise to meet with the FEMA estimate.
Okay.
Plan not apply for the waiting on it.
Okay. So what we're going to do at town meeting is we're going to, because we're still waiting for the FEMA grant. We're still in line. We've talked with FEMA and MEMA. And we're still in line to get this grant. So what we're going to do at town meeting, we may or may not know at that point. But at town meeting, we're going to hopefully, my counterparts here will go along with this. We will vote to raise 186,000 plus from undesignated fund balance, and that will allow us to complete the job. Now, if and when FEMA allows us to funds the project as we hope they will, then we won't have to use the undesignated funds. Now, the that's right. That's right. Yes, because that's right. Because the FEMA money will be more than that 180,000. It'll be
300.
That's right, 350,000. 350,000. So say the FEMA money doesn't come through, the town will be out the 186,000. That money will come from the undesignated fund balance. And what I'm looking at is we've received from FEMA in last 2 years ago from a May storm. FEMA gave us $250,000 for damages that we received then. And then in December, we received $120,000 for damages we received at that point. So basically, that funds would be absorbed at that point. Questions?
So we, through the budget process, discussed a funding strategy to replace Sadie Dunn Road, Blake Hill Road, and possibly Hubby Loose for funding dependent.
Yep.
That relies on the $400,000 plus capital fund that has been built up. Where does that factor into this? Because we have discussed that we were going to need to draw on it.
Actually, you're right. It would draw down that 480.
Right. So we have a major roads project to replace a road that is in severe disrepair, kind of relying on that funding, plus moving the leftovers from Blake Hill Bridge.
The Blake Hill Bridge will not,
No, but there's going to be carryover funds from them.
the Blake Hill Bridge will not affect that capital improvement funds, that
Yes, it will, because we
480,000.
have a draft warrant article to move more money into capital.
Yes, but it doesn't have any effect on that article, on that number.
I understand that, Bob, but what I was saying is that we were gonna draw down capital,
Yep,
replenish it with the remaining Blake Hill Bridge funds, and then draw it down again to do Blake Hill Road, not bridge, the road.
road.
So how does all of that factor in? And if not, we need to move more undesignated funds to fund that. Or we need to go back to and raise our road construction line, because we would also reduce the road construction line in anticipation of using some of these capital funds.
I don't think so.
Question, didn't you vote on that warrant as you had laid it out?
We haven't voted on the warrant.
No, I don't.
We
think
have voted, we voted to approve a budget.
Oh, yeah.
So we will
I
need
mean,
to.
the budget that you laid out, which those three.
Right.
just steps.
So there's part of the budget that's the operations, that's kind of set now. For all intents and purposes. On the warrant is where we can move undesignated funds from. Keeping in mind that we need to maintain a fund balance in undesignated funds. For the operations of the town, but there is, through under budgeting, there is going to be some additions to undesignated funds.
So the article to build the bridge, we raised $950,000 from undesignated funds.
Right.
Okay. So the state is going to give us 60% of that back.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that goes back into undesignated funds.
Right. And then I have a warrant to prevent that from happening and having it go into roads capital.
Right.
But what I'm saying is how much of roads capital are you going to need to draw down? And I'm just going to use in the event you don't get the grant.
You won't have to.
Right. If you don't have to, I understand that the grant fully covers the project.
Yep.
If the FEMA grant comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah, the be cash left of them.
Okay, perfect. But if it doesn't, how much do we need to pull back from undesignated funds?
It won't. It'll come from the funds that are in this capital.
Right, Bob.
It won't
what I'm
have-
saying is then we're gonna kick 2 other major projects down the line.
It won't affect them.
If we draw the capital down, it will. Because we don't get the grant.
Well, it seems that in the presentation that you sent to us this afternoon, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten it out to everybody, but there was an option. So there's two things to be aware of. One is we're going to lose a MDOT MIAF grant of $200,000 if we don't do something.
Balance that understand.
Right.
When does that expire?
Yep.
Thank you.
So we have to have the funds at least committed.
So, but they have this right step to the supplier.
To the
By that or to the construction contractor by that.
And then the second part of this is that the FEMA money, the FEMA grant has been really on the back burner because of all the things going on in DC. But all of a sudden, things have started coming alive and it looks like we're going to get that FEMA grant. And so you laid out 3 options to that Bob and I today. One of them being to wait until we actually get the FEMA funds, in which case we would know we can cover the entire amount with the funds we currently have.
That makes sense.
Yes, you already have money in the.
No. Oh, yes, yes.
It's got the DOT money, we use it back.
Right.
If FEMA gives a green light in a month, then then you're good, you already have money in the bank, with, MDOT.
Right.
So, the hitch comes if the FEMA doesn't come through.
Right.
And then you have a decision to return 175,000 or.
Come up with plan B.
Start the project and write a check for, you either need to spend that money towards the culvert, or you need to return the money.
So since I don't have all the information, so I'm kind of processing this in real time. What is the estimated cost to do the project?
485.
485. We have a grant for the 175 remaining, plus we've moved 100,000 in undesignated funds.
Yep.
And in 25, there's 175 left, as we've already spent.
Right,
25.
to
So
design.
the actual balance to the prize is about 460.
460. And we have raised 275. So we're less than half there. So if we just move, so you're saying move the difference from undesignated funds into roads. Is that where the money is sitting now?
Yeah.
The 175 is sitting in roads capital?
Right.
Actually, that's not reimbursable, so you don't have that in the tank. That's a reimbursable grant, do it.
Right.
You write a check and you'll get it.
Okay. So the only thing in roads capital for this currently is the 100,000 that was moved 2
Right.
years ago. So then what I would propose is that we raise the difference in the project to roads capital. And that way there we can just do it by, if everything lines up, we just do it by a vote of the select board. And then if we don't use it, we don't have to write another warrant to pull it back out of undesignated funds. It's sitting in roads capital
Okay.
and we can use it.
Yep.
So instead, I think that does it a lot cleaner. And then we also have the roads capital money moving from the leftover from Lake Hill Bridge. And then I think, yeah, we can tidy up our 2 road projects. That work?
So. You do that and.
You're right.
Yeah.
So basically in June, we'll say that we have this project that we need to finish. It costs X. We are 75% confidence that we'll get the FEMA grant?
As of last week, yes.
Okay, 75%.
So
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go with 75% confidence that we're gonna get the FEMA grant. We've already gotten this other grant to fund part of it. So in the event that we don't get the FEMA grant, this is the project difference. Will you put that into roads capital in as a backstop in case we don't get this FEMA grant? That work?
Yeah. That's, I think that's.
And then if it's sitting in road, and then if we do get the FEMA grant, this money will be put toward.
Yeah.
I think it's like 100.
60.
I'm not like 160,000 we need to move.
Yeah.
That $160,000 will be
187.
187.
Yeah.
So that 187,000 will be used for construction against the Blake, Sadie Dunn Road, Blake Hill Road, and Hovey Lynch Road.
Yep.
Okay.
That sounds good.
You want to draft that warrant?
That's clear.
Or I can draft that warrant article up. I'll send it around and
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
make sure it makes sense.
Okay.
The thing that's under.
Yeah, I just sent you the email.
Did you get a letter for Carl to sign? The letter that is out there now has my signature on it. Didn't you need a new letter of,
No, they revisited There was a letter of match commitment.
Yep.
A year ago.
Yep.
to the town, and you still have that.
Okay.
We told them a year ago, you have the MDOT money.
Yep.
And you still have the MDOT money.
Okay.
So as long as everything's wrapped up by November first.
Okay.
We'll do the deal.
Okay.
That's all on my agenda.
There is one. Through the budget process, we identified an area of concern around rescue in regards to what Vienna and Fayette contribute. And I wanted to put it to the board to see if we wanted to start discussing with Vienna.
Vienna.
Just discuss with them.
Yeah, I definitely want to discuss with them because it's clear that we're not sharing this equitably.
Yeah.
So I think we do need to start the discussion. I'm assuming I'll be glad to reach out to.
I think Jeff was their board chair.
Yep, be happy to reach out to him.
That's great for you to do that. That should be out, you know, in 13.
Well, here's the thing, Vienna's already done their financial process for the year. So this is kind of between now and when they start theirs again in December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to have this conversation and I'd rather start it as early in this process as possible. You know, we're going to town meeting. We're going to fund rescue at a rate this year. Next year, or even earlier in the process. Sometime between,
not too distant future.
sometime within this fiscal year, come to an understanding, there needs to be a change.
Yeah, but your point will take, it's not our budget time, their.
Right, that we need to work with.
Got it.
You two have anything to add? I know Amanda had to step out.
Who's going to figure out how much?
Well.
Diana?
So there's a long standing agreement between, I don't know.
In writing?
What's that?
In writing?
Well, that's my question. I have never seen anything in writing in Fayette. And it's.
Vienna, right?
No, Vienna.
Well, because we do serve Fayette some as well too, so. It just depends on, there's, Tyler has the actual numbers for Fayette. I think it's like 4 calls and Vienna 64, but. Don't quote me on those numbers. That being said. Vienna currently gives the town at town meeting. Under $1,000.
I thought it was $3,500.
64 out of 206 in 2025, from January to December.
They give us 1,000.
No, I think it was 3,500.
So Fayette gives us 1,000
Okay.
and they have.
Fayette does. We don't list them.
4 calls, no one knows. And then, Fayette, right here, Fayette has 4. Vienna had 64. Mount Vernon had 135.
Yeah, we had to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So
And Vienna, Vienna.
If we look at it.
Vienna in their last, I haven't
would
checked
think.
this year's financials, but I know in last year's town meeting, in their report last year was 350, 300, 3,500.
Yep.
We put in our warrant that they sent us 4,500. So my number on 1,000 from Fayette was kind of assuming that that's the difference, because our warrant and their warrants don't line up.
So Fayette has always regular check donation of $1,000 for the rest of the stuff.
Oh,
They need to fix that up.
Yeah, that needs to be switched. Yeah.
So I would say that entering into, select, we're going to rate.
yes, we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll reach out.
Yep. We cover in Fayette, we cover basically Sandy River Road and 8 roads up. Down.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Anybody else have anything to bring up? Kathy? I did not. I guess I skipped over that. I I believe they're going to go over any of the changes that came from the public hearing. Yep.
All right. With that, I moved to enter executive.
Trees out here, the three willow trees. I've got one tree company that has looked at it so far. I haven't gotten the price yet. I've got another one coming Thursday to look at the trees. I'm gonna get at least three to look at them.
Did you get any prices yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Thinking about there, the ADA committee, thinking of both contractors. Site work and ramp, first.
Just so everybody's aware of the dock over here. I checked it today because we got an email that it floated away. It looks like it snapped a mooring line. And so the whole boat launch dock is swung. I don't know, 37, 38 degrees in the boat launch. So that is, I believe, the inland fisheries dock. So we may need to reach out to them. Because I think you might be able to get a boat in there, but I wouldn't.
Maybe not.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Did you see the committed funds? That I went back several years on our auditors reports. And I totaled up about $26,000 worth of funds. We should move those right into this year's town meeting, wipe them right out and just
Dorcas was asking if that
Right.
would be retroactive to last year.
Yeah, so it doesn't mess up her books this year. She sent us an email on that.
Well, we've already committed.
I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, we've already committed taxes.
Well, we could check with it. On that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it.
I would just put them right towards ours. List them
I
the
mean,
way.
the other piece would be, do we want to move, like, some of those I'm not 100% sure we necessarily want to eliminate, like the oil increase line, if we have a reserve for, especially given the current economic climate in regards to,
It's been there for 5 years.
well, we haven't had 20% of global oil production get knocked offline in years. So I just, I mean,
The ones I picked have been there for 5 years.
I'm just saying, like,
or
that
more.
would be one that I would question.
But we did increase our estimates
Yeah.
for fuel.
And I think we did them very aggressively, but I just. That's not one that I would, it's for disclosure, it's $5,000 for it's labeled oil increase reserve. That is an okay, I would consider that an okay reserve to set on. That way there, if you got into a year and let's just say 2 years down the line, oil prices have come down and there's another shock.
Okay.
We can absorb.
You can do it.
Like I said, yeah, there's some other ones here that we definitely could.
Okay, so
Agreed.
bottom line is we'll look to move those into.
Yeah, there's no sense carrying them every
Yeah,
year.
Have a meeting
Yeah,
between now and June.
We
with
should,
Dorcas,
yes.
and do we have an estimate when we're getting the audit?
What's that?
she reached out to RHR Smith and has not gotten a firm answer. She's ready.
Yep.
We're ready.
'Cause I think,
Just they're waiting for RHR.
right,
Smith.
because
We did the audit back in early March 11th, I believe.
right, beginning of March, and we don't have it back.
Right.
No, because that's gonna tell us the undesignated fund balance. And so as soon as we get that back, if we could schedule a working session with Dorcas to go through and do that cleanup, but also. I kind of hope we have it in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think we do need
Because we
to.
can't, I'm not comfortable setting the warrants without it.
I hope they're not late again,
I'm-
like last year. If it is, we have to look at a different, a new auditor. Exactly. They need to meet our timelines.
Well, there's another way to do that, and Dorcas suggested that rather than wait until the following year started in September,
We'll be better prepared.
We'll be prepared to do that this year.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that, I move to enter executive session to,
Wait a minute, you got a question?
Yep. Yes.
A new one.
yes, no.
Remy, who's the moderator?
His name's Rich Rulin.
Thank you.
He does roams. Town meeting.
Yeah, it's coming to us from Rome.
So with that, I now move to enter executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to 1 MRSA, section 405, subsection 6, subsection A. We need a vote.
Second vote. Tyler, or I mean, Dan? Dan?
Yeah, oh, all right, okay.
Okay.